Hello guys, I hope you're good. This is teacher Danielson with another video. Today I'm gonna be talking about predictions with will, which is a really important topic I would say, especially when we are talking about the future. We could say lots of things about the future, and among those things that we can say about it, we can make predictions using will. Let's see how we do this. Okay. Basically we can use will or want, which is a negative part. We can use them to talk about predictions that we think will happen. These predictions that we are saying may happen or they may not happen. Since they are predictions, we don't know if those predictions will be true or not because it is based on what we think. So it is not like sure if something will happen or not. Now let's see. Now let's talk about the formulas or the structures that we can use the case of predictions. Well, now if it is about an affirmative prediction, okay, the formula is quite simple. Subject. After the subject, we can use think or believe plus the object plus will, verb, and finally the complement. Sometimes we may not have a complement, and that's okay, so don't worry. Now let's look at some examples for you to see this. The first one says, I think people will have jetpacks in 20 years. So in this case, I is the subject, think, okay? People is the object, will after the object. In this case, have is the verb, and jetpacks in 20 years is the complement of this example. Okay, now let's take a look at the second one. I believe I will go to Dubai in 15 years. I hope so. So in this case, the subject would be I. In this case, I'm using believe instead of think. The object, in this case, is I, sorry. Then I use will. Go is the verb. And the complement is to Dubai in 15 years, which is the rest of the sentence. Now the last one says, I think Hako will have more population in 5 years. So in this case, I again is the subject, think, in this case, instead of believe, Hako is the object, will after the object, have is the verb, and more population in 5 years is the rest of the sentence, or in this case, this would work as the complement. Okay? I hope you understand this a little bit better. Okay? Now, what about negative predictions? Now, we said, or we were watching about positive or affirmative prediction, things that we think will happen in the future. But what about things that we consider won't happen in the future? Okay, let's see. Again, we start with the subject. After the subject, we have think or believe. After that, we have object. Now, instead of using will, in this case, we use want or will not. In this case, want is the contraction of will not. After want, we use the verb in simple form, remember? And after the verb, the complement. Okay, let's see. Now, I think people won't travel to Mars in the next 20 years. In this case, the subject is I, think, people is the object, want, as you can see after the object, travel in this case is the verb, and to Mars in the next 20 years would work as the complement. Okay, after that, we have I believe I won't have a car next year. I would work as a subject. In this case, I'm using believe instead of think. I is the object. Want after the object. Have is the verb. And in this case, a car next year is the complement or the rest of the sentence. Okay? Now, if we see all these examples, they all follow the same formula. Okay? I am not adding, I'm not changing the structure. Of course, the words are different, but at the end of all, the formula or the structure remains. It is the same. In this case, I think Hakko won't be bigger in the next 10 years. Or I think cell phones won't have few games in the future. Okay, so if we analyze this four different sentences, they all follow the same formula. Okay, now let's continue. Okay, what about yes, no questions? Remember that? I call these questions yes, no, because the answer I provide to this kind of questions is yes or no. Okay, short answers. Okay, in this case, the formula is quite simple. The question must start with will, then the subject, verb in simple form, complement, and of course, don't forget the question mark. Okay, let's see some examples. Okay, will people be in Mars in the next 20 years? Will people be in Mars in the next 20 years? So if we compare this question with the formula, will first, subject, in this case, verb is be, okay? The rest of the sentence would be in the next 20 years or the complement and the question mark at the end. So as I said before, the answer for this question is quite short. In this case, for example, oh, will people be in Mars in the next 20 years? Oh, yes, they will. Or no, they won't. So just this answer would be okay. Now, of course, if you could add more information to these answers would be okay, but it is not like mandatory. Okay, because with these two kind of questions, two kind of answers, sorry, affirmative or negative answer, with this it would be okay, so don't worry. Now let's take a look at the other example. Okay, will my father work in Canada in the future? Will my father work in Canada in the future? In this case, will, the beginning, my father is the subject, work is the verb, and in Canada in the future would be the complement. Again, let's take a look at the answers. Affirmative, yes, he will. Or no, he won't. So as you can see, short answers for this kind of questions. And you might be saying, oh, teacher, but those answers are too short. Yes, they might be short, but they are answering the questions. Okay? Now, it would be totally incorrect if you say, yes, no, yes, what, or no, what. In this case, it would be better to say, yes, he will, no, he won't. In this case, that I'm talking about my father. Okay? Now, the last one, will Hako be bigger in the future? Will Hako be bigger in the future? Again, we start with will, Hako is the subject, the verb is be, and bigger in the future would work as a complement. So in this case, short answers, yes, no answer. Will Hako be bigger in the future? Yes, it will. Or no, it won't. Short answers. Okay, and as you can see, guys, I don't need more to these answers because I can understand these answers just as they are like this. Okay, let's go to the last category. Now, in this case, we have double H questions, which are a little bit different to yes/no questions. In this case, double H questions start with double H. Double H stands for what, where, which, when, who, whom, okay, all this um, interrogative pronouns. Then we have will, subject, of course, the verb, and the complement, and of course, the question mark. Now, let's take a look at some examples. Okay. Now, where will you be in the next 5 years? Where will you be in the next 5 years? In this case, double H is where, will after double H. In this case, the subject is you, the verb is be, and the complement would be in the next 5 years. Now, guys, these questions are a little bit different, okay? They cannot work as yes/no questions because these are information questions. So if the question states, where will you be in the next 5 years? And you say, yes, I will, you're not answering the question. So that answer wouldn't work. In here or in this kind of questions, we need information. Okay, where will you be in the next 5 years? I think I will be in Japan. Oh, yes, now I know where you will be in the next 5 years. Okay, now that is better, right? So, in the next examples, what will happen in the next 10 years? I believe people will travel to Mars. Okay, now I know what will happen in the next 10 years. Okay, or how will people travel in the next 25 years? I think people will travel in flying cars. Well, maybe. So, guys, as you can see in this kind of questions, um, I need to provide information. Because if I say, okay, how will people travel in the next 25 years? And you say, yes, they will. Uh-huh. What are you trying to say? Because you're not answering the question. Okay, well, guys, this was my video about predictions with whale. I hope you um, understand this topic a little bit better. Remember that my purpose of this YouTube channel is for you to understand um, grammatical aspects of English better. Okay, so any comment, any opinion, any suggestion, please leave the comment below. Take care. See you.